Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of the Men of Steel podcast where we talk about Superman and Superman adjacent topics. If you enjoy this clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your shows.
That's what's really cool about this whole thing. Like, on my reread, I came to this opinion that Ultima is way more like the Golden Age Superman than I had originally given him credit for. Like, his power set, his power set is literally like Con-El, Superboy, like, initial powers, like the telekinesis thing. And there's so many comparisons to be made to Superman characters of that period. We've got Gladiator, we've got Miracle Man, Con-El, but like there's all these characters who have psionic abilities. Even Superman in the Man of Steel mini, they really hit home that he has psionic abilities. Like, he notes that it's lighter to pick up something when he's flying than when he's on the ground because his own power of flight is lifting up everything. And it's not just like him propelling himself and then he's strong enough to pick up a thing. The costume not getting damaged because it's tight enough to his skin. He's got a force field around his body that's giving him all these extra abilities. And that is the sole idea going on with this character. So I had kind of taken it for granted that the actual performance of the character showing up out of nowhere, violently delivering justice. Like, one of his first scenes is him like stopping a car, and it feels very much like the cover of Action Comics #1. It's him doing these very typical Superman type scenes, and they go poorly because he's so strong he can't help but hurt people. And then he has this intense guilt and remorse about it. Like, the journey that he goes on, even though he's not our viewpoint character, but we get from those interviews, I think is really cool to see him kind of break, because he was so convinced that he was doing the right thing. It was almost like fate was pushing him out that way, that he had to do something because he had that power. He had that great responsibility. It's just kind of sad that the world that he exists in is cartoonishly loaded with muggers and assailants and so forth. Like, this is worse than any like Law and Order episode in terms of like the amount like every alley you go into there just happens to be a mugger, or like, oh, my car broke down and I'm like at the meatpacking district outside of all the clubs, there's a gang of hoodlums coming up for me. Like
it's like clockwork.
That was the thing though, because reading it I was like, okay, in my head, because of this show I'm immediately comparing him to Superman, but I was like, this is Gotham. This isn't Metropolis. Like, the level of crime here is ridiculous. Like, this is Gotham.
The speeding bullets, was that was?
The original costume, the way they described him, like, he's Batman. Like, he's just like Batman, basically.
Or worse, he's wearing hockey pads.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of like, oh, that adds an interesting angle. Don't think of this as evil Superman. Imagine this as Batman with powers, he can't control them but still wants to do his thing. And that kind of unlocked a bit for me, because I was like, yeah, that's basically what this was. Is Batman has obviously he promises not to kill. Obviously it's not a perfect comparison, but that kind of was very interesting to me. So yeah.
Well, like I said, I think this goes back to that Golden Age Superman, where there is more of a vigilante component to him before he had become so defined. Like, in that first issue, the blue of his costume kind of has a black vibe to it. Sure, it's bright red and it's, early 4-color comics, so it's difficult to have that level of nuance of design, and he's like a circus strongman kind of thing. But like, he only operates at night. He's like climbing up the sides of buildings, spying on people. Like, there is this vigilante element to him. He's coming off of the heels of the Pulp Fiction era, of The Shadow, of Doc Savage, of Tarzan, and before that, like the Buck Rogers type character.
Right.
So having a noir kind of style to the character wasn't that weird. It just quickly became defined in a different direction.
Remember, if you like the clip, after you're done liking and subscribing, check out certainpov.com, where you can find more episodes of the show, as well as a ton of other great shows.